Hey, this is Craig Gross, and I want to talk to you parents today on one of the #1 questions I always get asked. How do I protect my kid's iPhone, tablet, or iPod? It's a good question to ask. And here's what I gotta say about this. First thing you can do as a parent is ask that question before you give your kids the device. Most of the time, the questions are, hey Craig, I just got my kid something for Christmas, and it's in like March. So now it's gonna be hard to change whatever you've given your kid and then change the settings and do some things 6 months later. It's gonna be a lot easier when your kid's been begging you for that iPod or that iPhone and you finally give it to them and it says, hey, here you go, but I've done a few things on it. Handing your kid any of these devices that are connected to the internet is like handing your kid a loaded gun if you don't put the safety on. And I wouldn't recommend giving them a loaded gun anyways, but I'm saying that's what we're doing when we're giving kids these access with any of the restrictions disabled. So a couple things that I think you need to do. If you're on iOS, there is something in here, and it's crazy, most parents have never heard of. If you go to General, then you go to Settings, there's something called Restrictions. Most of you have never seen that glorious button. I have a whole nother video I'll link to about how to actually do that, but you can enable and disable everything from installing apps, from installing in-app purchases, from the music that they listen to, and even website. You can completely disable internet access through Safari or these other browsers on these devices. You can eliminate pornography. You can do a lot of things. So that's the first thing. On Androids as well, there is a settings for parental control. So you need to make sure that you've actually given your kid the device the way that you actually want it to work instead of letting them figure that out. There might be some complaints, but hey, they don't pay rent, they're your kids. Allow them, I would say, only to use these types of devices in public spaces. I'm not letting my kid fall asleep, watching videos on their iPod. Oh, I just listen to music. No, you don't. You do a whole lot more on this thing. And the rule at our house is they're out in public where people can see you. It's not anything about privacy. I would limit the apps that they can use. We have this whole thing called iParent.tv. You can check that out because most of the apps that your kids are wanting, you have no idea what Kik is, what Snapchat is, what all those things are that they actually want to be on. So if you don't know what it is, don't allow it. If you need to be educated on what those things are, we have a whole other site for you to figure that out. But don't allow them to have access to apps that you don't know. Just because it has a ghost on it doesn't mean it's a game. There's a lot of private messaging going on through these apps. There's a lot of meeting. There's a lot of inappropriate things that you as a parent actually could be liable for because you technically own the device. So get informed on what your kids are actually using. They're not all just playing Angry Birds anymore. There's a lot more on this that is crazy. Limit the time that they could spend on it. Geez, like have them go outside and play. I mean, it's so frustrating. When my kids' friends come over, and they're older friends, especially my kids are, younger, and they're, teenagers are always just on their apps all the time. I'm like, no, guys, we haven't seen these people for a year. We're not going to just be online and be, commenting on everybody's Instagram and this and that. No, we're going to be involved with real people. So limit this. Don't just give them full access whenever they want. Save it for a long road trip or an airplane ride. But they don't need to be on this night and day. There's amazing things that you can do, obviously through settings as well, on some of those restrictions. And here's the thing, limit who they can contact and be in touch with socially. This girl recently, his friend, my son, she had like 1,400 followers for a 3rd grader. It's like, wow, she's popular. I mean, she's not famous, she's not, she follows 3,000 people. It's like, what? This is a popularity game with your kids on how many friends they can have, how many contacts they have. Everyone wants them to be added to every different thing. And man, it's out of control. A lot of these people you don't know, they've never met in person. So I would get a hold of their iPod, I'd get a hold of their iPhone, I would look through their contacts, I'd look through some of these apps, and I would want to know who's messaging my kid, who has access to direct message them via Twitter, Instagram, Kik, all those things. So be involved, be a parent. You've got to pick this thing up and not just assume your kid is using this wisely. My buddy, his kid just created an Instagram account and he thought, well, he was going to make it private. Kid made it public. On top of that, he put his phone number to their house phone on his Instagram profile. And it was just one of those things, like, kids don't know a lot of this stuff. They don't make the smartest decisions. Parents, I've seen some of your accounts. You don't make the smartest decisions. So your kids probably follow suit. But pay attention, get involved. Lots more that we talk about actually on a site called iParent.tv that I'd love for you to check out. As well, x3watch.com. We've just created iOS and Android apps for internet browsing. Sure, Apple and Android have some restrictions that you can disable, but that's all you can pretty much do is disable these things. So if you want safe internet browsing on your devices, we have the options to either block that or actually monitor that so you know everything that's been looked at on those web browsing devices. Check that out at x3watch.com. Thanks for listening. Lots more that you can do, and we'll continue to have this conversation on both these websites about how to protect your kids online.